In about a month's time, we're gonna get the first Yu-Gi-Oh anime in years, and before you click off, it does not revolve some kid with a dual disc fighting around his playground. No, 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 no. This is gonna be a brand new take on Yu-Gi-Oh animes. This one is gonna be revolved around the art and lore of the cards themselves. And one of these stories is gonna be about Fallen of Albaz. It's a boy who fell from the sky and has this magical power to turn into dragons, and his religious girlfriend who just want him to kind of, change. It's such a cool story that I actually made a cinematic movie about it on my channel previous to the anime getting announced, and it's doing pretty well. Around 300,000 people want this anime already. And it's coming out really soon. So if you don't know the story and you want to get up to speed before watching the anime, here are the things that you need to know. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the universe, the story, the lore, the world in which the Albaz story takes place without spoiling too much. And also, I don't really know how Konami Animation will take the Fallen of Albaz story and adapt it into an anime, so some of the things might change, and of course, hopefully, we're gonna get some stuff that I don't even know about. So grab yourself a bucket of popcorn and get ready to hear all about the world of Fallen of Albaz before watching the Chronicles. The story begins in the nation called Dogmatica. It's a religious nation run by the priest Maximus, who has been priest for a long time. We don't really know what's under the mask, but this guy could be alive for like hundreds or even thousands of years, and he has some relationship to dragons, divine dragons, up in the heavens that nobody really knows about. This is why the main center of the church has like this big dragon statue called the Dogmatica Nexus, and there's some evil connection there between the priest and the dragons, and some sort of plan he has to control his own people. Now, on this day of reckoning, Ecclesia, who is one of the most important saints in the Dogmatica church, has her own ceremony, sort of like a bat mitzvah, right? But, in the Dogmatica church. And she's finally being anointed into a saint, but before any of that can happen, her and her mentor, Fleur, who's one of the most important knights in the Dogmatica nation, and one of the main protectors of Maximus the priest, they look up into the skies and they see a red ball of flame falling down into the city. Of course, everybody rushes to see what happens, and from that smoke and ash appears a boy that we know of as Fallen of Albaz, but he actually doesn't even know his name. So Ecclesia and Fleur's main instinct is to protect the church and destroy this heathen of a dragon boy. In his dragon form, Fleur de Lis kind of attacks him. We can see that in the trailer for the anime that's already been released, but it's just a boy. She even cuts out his eye and he's injured, but again, just a boy. He doesn't even know where he came from, and Ecclesia, instead of bonging him with a hammer, she feels some sort of connection to him, and she kind of fights to, pull back the Dogmatica people and let him live. While this is happening, over in the desert, a tribe called Tri Brigade, who was the main enemy of the Dogmatica people, sees this from afar and rushes into the city to see what happens. They of course also see the boy, and they understand there's a pretty good chance that this boy can actually become a weapon for them in the war against Dogmatica. So the two tribes, Dogmatica, Tri Brigade, they're fighting over control of this boy. And this boy, in the heat of the moment, turns into another dragon. This one is a beast dragon. It has these horns and fur, and you can kind of understand that Albaz transforms under pressure, but also that his transformations are affected by the environment. He grabs Ecclesia, basically kidnaps her, and him and the Tri Brigade run off into the desert, escaping the Dogmatica church and starting off a new chapter in their journey. Once they get to the desert, they get a mission from the leader of the Tri Brigade, Shurek. He gives them a little mechanical bird that is supposed to help them navigate the desert in order to find a unique species of machine creatures called the spring ants, who are mechanics in the desert. One of the Tri Brigades, Kit, is actually working for the spring ants, and Albaz and Ecclesia, now on the run from the Dogmatica church, need to find her. Meanwhile, in the capital, remember the priest Maximus? Apparently, his ritual has began, and he's beginning a transformation that was sort of like a sleeper cell for years in the capital, turning all people into these demon ghosts called Despians. And he doesn't do it alone. He actually has the help of a guy called Albaz, who is the jester of the Despia, and he's sort of like a counterpart to Albaz. We're going to talk about him later on, but he's extremely powerful and basically as mysterious as Albaz is. He comes down from the heavens as well, from this big red mark in the sky, and he opens up the ground in the Dogmatica nation, and out from the ground comes the theater of the Despians, the place where all these evil spirits are created, and that something very nasty is going to happen during the end of this video. So stick around for that. Now, Albaz and Ecclesia meet the spring ants in the desert, but something weird is happening. The sand kind of like rumbles and trembles, and a huge snake pops out of the sand. Now, this is the moment where Albaz realizes he has to transform in order to save Kit, the spring ants, and of course, Ecclesia. And he finally channels his own brand, the brand of white, and now, instinctively and intentionally, he turns into Albion, the branded dragon, which begins his intentional transformations and not the ones that were before that kind of happened out of nowhere. Meanwhile, you remember Fleur from the beginning? She actually escaped the capital after almost being turned into a Despia herself, and she meets up with the group in the desert and helps Albaz, turned into Albion the dragon, to take down the great sea sand of Golconda. Once they do that, they meet up with Fleur, and Fleur tells them what happened at the capital. Maximus turned evil, tried to turn everybody into a Despia, and she and two of her comrades from the capital had to escape barely while being severely injured. They escaped into the kingdom of the Ice Jades, which actually healed Fleur of her wounds, and then she came back and met with Ecclesia and Albaz. Now, everybody wants to defeat the Despians and Maximus, but they don't really know how. Fleur's main advice is to head to the Sword Soul Mountain to meet with the Sword Soul tribe who can actually help them gain some more powers, which is exactly what they do. Albaz and Ecclesia fly away to the nation of the Sword Soul and meet the Emperor Chengying. He greets them well and welcomes them into the tribe and takes them down into the Ice Jade Mountain to see what's up and maybe gain some additional powers. But there's a bit of a twist here. One of the Sword Soul folks is actually a spy for the Despians and for Maximus. And in the middle of the night, he opens a portal in the Sword Soul Mountain, allowing the Despians to invade the mountain. Meanwhile, down at the mountain with the Ice Jade, Albaz gets some new powers, which is great, but unfortunately, Albaz comes in from the portal opened by the Sword Soul spy, and he's trying to take Albaz down. With the help of the Sword Souls and the Ice Jades, Albaz turns into his most powerful form yet, Mirror Jade, a huge dragon made of ice blades, and Albaz, on the other side, has the power to transform as well apparently, and he turns into Lubellion the Syrian dragon. The two dragons battle it out and clash, and the connection between the two are so strong that they actually fuse into a single dragon, Alba Lenidus. Afterwards, the connection kind of wears off and Albaz is expelled from the body of Lubellion and is left pretty much with nothing. While they were fusing, Maximus has actually stolen the body of Fleur de Lis into the capital and kind of lured Ecclesia to go with him in order to save her. But unfortunately, this is a huge spoiler, she's dead. For now. Albaz makes his way into the capital in order to save Ecclesia, and he is joined by his allies. Tri Brigades, of course, and the Spring Ants, but also some Therion warriors. If you don't know the Therion warriors, this is a side plot that actually took Kit, the mechanic from the Spring Ants tribe, over to the Iron Mountains to procure some kind of special liquid that the Therions have. They're a nation of fighters, they fight it out in the Colosseum, and they have really, really unique powers that Kit actually needed in order to finalize the ultimate Tri-Brigade weapon, Bucephalus. So Albaz connects with all of his allies in the capital, but on the other side, Maximus actually has another big plan going on. Him and Albaz turn into beasts. Maximus turns into a huge demon, Albaz turns into a dragon, and he also turns Ecclesia into Cartesia, the evil form and manifestation of the Bestials, who are divine gods from a distant realm that turned into dragons. These are the bad guys, and Albaz's guys are the good guys, and they're gonna fight it out. In the heat of the battle, Cartesia tries to sacrifice herself in order to protect her new dragon Granule. She gets hit, she falls from the sky, and Albaz just dives after her. She's not even Ecclesia anymore, but he knows her spirit is somewhere in there, and he's trying to save her. As they fall from the sky, the power of their connection fuses them both into a brand new dragon, the Sanctified Dragon, who's made up of the light and dark sides of both of them. And of course, Fleur-de-Lis, remember her? She has died, but apparently she's now revived into a Despia form, but the good kind. While Maximus turns into a huge bestial dragon, Fleur picks up her sword and strikes him down, winning the battle for the good guys. After the fusion power wears off, Fallen of Albaz and Ecclesia are finally back at their original forms. And, Aluber loses the battle, but maybe not the war. Ecclesia and Albaz end up flying into a distant realm, while Aluber still is plotting for some sort of revenge. But as seen in the art of Aluber in his bestial form, you can see this red diamond crystal that he stole from Cartesia, which means that Aluber actually got a little bit of what he deserves. This is a lot of story to take in, but this is the basic premise of what happens in the story of Fallen of Albaz. But the cool thing is, the anime can expand on it so much more. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some new content for Branded for the Fallen of Albaz story. And of course, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is going to happen in the anime that hasn't happened in the card art? Thank you so much for watching. Stick around in this channel. Once the anime is out, we're going to have weekly episodes for each of these new episodes, breaking them down, talking about theories. It's going to be super fun. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.